The Lotus 49 has had a troubled history in iRacing. I actually recorded my first impressions of the car back in July 2013. That's something like 8 years ago, and over those 8 years, the car has changed quite a bit. It's had several revisions to tire models and suspension, and like all the cars in iRacing, generally evolves. But it's just had another release with the latest 2021 Season 4 release that everybody is ranting and raving about, and brought me back to try out the car itself. So according to iRacing, some tire parameters have been updated, so it has some version of the new tire model again. And then importantly, I think a variety of vehicle parameters have been updated, including, they say, suspension geometry, aerodynamic properties, gearbox parameters, and differentials. And they also adjusted the mirrors, I guess. But made a lot of changes to the car, and it drives very different. Now, I hadn't driven the Lotus 49 now in probably 2 or 3 years, but the last time I drove it, it was definitely a very difficult car to drive on any sort of limit. Much easier than it was initially. Initially, this car was impossible to drive on the limit for somebody like me. And, even to drive it slow was not easy at all. It was just really tough to control the power, and the car would slide around a lot. They did make some updates shortly after the release that made it better, but I never really caught on, and kind of gave it up like a lot of folks. And the Lotus 49 itself has struggled for participation over the years, but has cultivated a really nice community called the 49ers. And I'll try to put links to their Discord and whatever else I can find in the description of the video. But if you're interested in racing this car, it's a nice community that reminds me a lot of the GPL, the Grand Prix Legends community itself. Just folks willing to share setups and advice and talk about the races and real life racing and whatever you want. They've been super helpful in helping me get acquainted with the car and actually getting some setups and practicing. I tried out some racing last week at the Red Bull Ring for week 1, and I was just really learning at that point, so I didn't want to put any videos to things. But in week 2, we're at Okayama, which is not a track which would have ever had Lotus 49s racing at it. I think it opened in the early 90s and obviously held Formula 1 races. I've always liked Okayama circuit, and despite it not being a classic track, I think it's a great track for the car itself. It's got a couple slow corners, but mostly kind of faster bends, some elevation in there. So it's a good track to race on. I've always gotten along well with Okayama. So I've done a bunch of practicing this week. I have done one race earlier this week. We actually had one go live with just 6 drivers, and I did finish that race in 2nd position, but it was a pretty small field, and a couple of the guys took themselves out on the first lap. So some practice, but this will be the first real race that I'm doing in the Lotus 49. For the series itself in iRacing, there are really 3 main races that go live every week. There's a race on Thursdays at 19:30 GMT, so it's in the afternoon for my time here. There's this race, which I'm doing on Fridays at 23:30 GMT, which is a perfect time for me, but it's on Friday, which is a tough one. And then there's the big race, the main race on Saturdays at 13:30 GMT. That's a broadcasted race by GSRC. That's the one that probably splits into multiple grids. So if you want to race this car right now, those are the 3 main ones, but we have had it go live a few other times, and hopefully with this video can encourage a few other folks to try it out, because it is a lot of fun. It's no small secret that one of the best things about iRacing is the scheduling and management of all the races. You don't have to worry about joining a specific league or anything like that. But racing the Lotus 49, since it is a smaller group, you'll see the same names on all the racing servers and everything, and it feels somewhat like a league that you can just jump into whenever there's a race going live. So I've actually just finished the race, but it's 23 laps around Okayama. I'll be starting in the 11th position, qualified with a 1:32.7, which is not a great time, but not too bad for a qualifying. Starting in 11th place out of 20, so right in the middle. Should be an interesting race, hopefully to watch. 23 laps around Okayama. Talk about my impressions of the updated Lotus 49. All right, so on the outside of the grid, which is not what I was hoping for, but we'll see. Plan, I just got to get away from this start and just try to get a clean start here. Set this to session optimum lap. Get away from the line, get a few laps in, and then see what we've got. Definitely starting in the mid pack. It's going to be kind of a wild start, I would guess. Should be a good race, though. I'm number 9. Mid towards back, at least on iRating. We'll see how it all plays out. Hopefully a good race. I'm a little nervous, to be honest. It's been a little while since I've done a race that I practiced for in iRacing, but hopefully I can do it justice. Really into this new Lotus 49, so be fun to race here. Gotta make sure I don't get that wheel spin off the line either. Tricky starting this car. It really can spin the wheels, and you gotta get up the gears kind of fast, at least what I've found, to make it not do that. All right, lights are up. We're in gear. Red. Out, we're underway. Oh, try not to spin the wheels too much. Gas up, get away from the line. There we go, not spinning the car out. Car's in front a little slow too. I got this one right on the right here. We'll come down to the first corner, down to second gear. Nice to see everybody playing it nice and easy. All right, throttle up a little bit. I'm gonna have the inside line coming to this long left-hander. It's a tricky corner, especially at speed, but we'll just mosey on through nice and easy. Tiptoe our way now to this hairpin, or this isn't actually the hairpin, but it kind of acts like one. Long right-hander. Take a little bit too deep on the brakes coming in. I got a car looking on me towards the inside. Try to get that throttle down. All right, up to fifth gear. We'll come down towards the real hairpin. Brake right at 200 on this opening lap. He's going to dive it in there. Watch for the car to maybe run a little bit wide. Oh, he does. All right, cut under him. Almost could see that coming. Come through. I think that corner's called Revolver. It's a tricky one. Little short shoot here. Can almost get up to fourth, but we'll keep it in third. All right, down to second gear. A little late on the brakes. And come into these two S's. Try to get on the throttle. Pretty good coming out. We got this challenging kink. Third gear, I think. Keep it in unless we get the line wrong like that. Then second for the final corner. Just grab the gear there. We'll want to try to get on the throttle a little sooner than that. I was understeering, but back on the front straightaway. So got through the first lap, had one dive bomb there, but surviving. Come down to the first corner now. So we're stuck in behind Dave here. See if I can stick on him and then find a place to make a move. Gotta be so gentle with the throttle. Even through this little S here, it's easy to spin the car out if you're a little too aggressive on the wheel or the loud pedal. Really grab that apex. All right, up to third gear. Oh, I got a tank slapper there. I'm gonna get car coming up behind me again. And up to fifth. It's gonna very much have the inside line this time. Will he run deep again? Nope. No longer cold tires, so losing a spot there, that's my own mistake. But a long race to go. 23 laps around here is no joke in this car. Down to second gear, locking up in front again. A little trouble on the brakes, it looks like. Second, I missed that corner again. It's one to work on the next laps. Cars in front, one of them runs wide. I think that was Dave running wide. Will McDonald's going to run to the inside of him. All right, so I did a 133.1, which is about a second and a half slower than I know I can achieve during a lap. There we go, better run onto the back straightaway this time. 3/10 up on my optimal of this race, so not my best ever. That'll help keep me going for every lap. Just try to get a little bit better each lap. Don't overdo it. Right on the back of Dave now. A little four-wheel drift there out of the corner. Put it in fourth for a second. Don't need to do that. Oh, he runs a little bit wide coming into the S's. I think this one's called Hobbs. All right, up to third gear. Try to get this corner right this time. You just don't want to hop the curb on the inside there because it'll really mess up the car. Up to 4th gear, up to 5th, across the line, down the gears again, just as soon as you get into 5th, especially with the slower pace. But that was a 131.9, so it's actually a little bit better than I thought I could do in a race. Earlier this week, I was turning 133s, 132s, so the pace is definitely coming back. The car in front had a huge wiggle. But it's so competitive here. Oh, right on the gearbox now. I gotta find a way around. If I can keep on him long enough, maybe he'll see what's coming and let me by. I got a good run though onto the back straightaway, up on the inside, then up to 5th gear. Coming to the braking zone, try not to outdo myself. Down to 2nd gear. Just keep it nice and close. Just gonna hang it out there. Maybe try to over under or let me go. There we go. So nice clean pass, try to put a little bit of a gap so he doesn't think of coming back on me. Without the clutch, it's kind of non-issue to shift an extra time there. You lose a little speed though, so it's not good to do. But I wish you had to use the clutch in the car. I feel like, it would maybe make some folks not able to drive it, and it's already a pretty low participation car, so we want to try to let everybody do it, but it's a shame that the clutch is so much slower than racing it without. It could somehow be similar speed, or I don't know. Mixed opinions on whether or not it was possible to race without the clutch in real life, but I think just for reliability's sake, based off stories and things, it wasn't something that was done very often unless you're maybe really pushing or on a qualifying lap or something like that. Alright, so things are starting to string out a little bit. Will in front of me here is actually very quick. So he had a few issues right off the line, but I'm pulling away from Dave now behind me. So if we can get that gap up a bit, that'll make it feel more comfortable and I can really just focus forward. Doesn't seem like I've got anybody else yet coming from behind. So we're in 11th position, right where I started. No improvements. Already on lap 5. Go for a tear off there. It's like we're dirt racing. Ooh, a little bit of a lock up in front. Easy to do. I find myself adjusting the brake bias in this car, maybe a bit more than most cars, at least that I drive. All right, up to 3rd gear. Down to 2nd into the final corner. Ran very deep there. Lost all the time I had on my lap. Oh, 2/10 in the final corner is no good. Still not a bad lap. Actually, my quickest in the race, despite the mistake. So I got more pace in it. It's just everybody else is so quick too. I think this race actually split into 2 splits, potentially. Might have been that just some didn't qualify. I think 20 or so registered. We'll see it after the race. Oh, a little deep there. Dance the car up the hill. Sometimes that corner is easy. Sometimes it's really tricky to get the power down. Wandered into the corner a little bit early on the brakes that time. But you gotta drive, at least I have to drive a little more conservatively in a race. You just really can't mess up. Dipping a wheel off the track or something is just really gonna ruin your race. Again, a lock up in front. Could be a netcode thing, but every lap seems to be locking up the tires into the S's. Third gear here. Aggressive on the inside curb that wasn't exactly quick. I can feel that I'm pushing into the corners a bit too hard. I gotta back up the corner a bit. Slow in, fast out. That's the way to drive this car. A bit of brake smoke there. Dance the car. Ooh, Will ran wide up in front, but maybe he's gonna come out fine. You can actually go a bit deep there, and then coming up the hill, since you can't get the power down on the inside that fast anyway, you can make up some of that time. So all in all, maybe didn't lose out too much. Definitely closer now. Just keep on it. It's a long race, a lot of laps to go, a lot of opportunities to come. I can see we're actually catching a slow car already. Maybe had some sort of incidents off the line. Running out wide there. It's going to be right on the line as we come out of the straightaway. Dips to the inside. There we go. Very gentlemanly driving in this series, which is what I love. When it's your day, it's your day. Bit of the old style of racing. When I come out of the final corner, Will took a really shallow line there. It's my best lap once again, 131.8. I'm trying to just be as consistent as possible. Then fifth. Oh, such a sketchy section of the track. Really easy to spin out the car. Hopefully I won't show everybody how it's done. The third gear, just waiting on the revs a little bit. You can see my pedal inputs right next to the gear indicator on the screen. So it's firmly a left foot braking and accelerating car. You don't need the clutch for anything. I've got all the assists and everything off, so it's interesting how it drives, but the handling itself is very enjoyable. So it's, at first I was put off a little bit. Oh, we got a car spun out towards the inside. I think that was 8th place, so picking up a spot then into the top 10. Just stick with it. Just put off a bit when I first tried it out just because of the controls, but I think just based off of how fun it is to drive here, looking past that a bit, I don't think that writes the car off in general. It's nice to have some organized racing, even if it is kind of hard to find a good race to get into. Up to 5th gear. Will locks it up again, big time into the first corner. We'll have to see after the race if that was actually lockups or if he had some netcode issues or something. Second gear. Oh, just trying to get on the throttle there. One driver leaving the race. So on lap 9, sitting in 10th position, so it's one better than my number, which means outperforming what iRacing thought I would do. My iRacing, I think's overinflated. I think iRacing, or iRating overall, has leveled out since I was really involved with it. I think I had almost a 4,000 back in 2012, 2013, but compared to 4,000 drivers today, I don't think I was anywhere near there. I think it was just higher numbers for some reason. Really even pace here with Will. I think I'm very, very slightly gaining on him, but it's gonna take maybe a mistake or me not making silly mistakes like that to actually get there. Down a second through the final corner. I missed the apex a bit. Just trying to run it out. You can use all the green area to the left there. No penalty. Just don't want to go into the real green area. So I've got a 5-second gap to the cars behind now. I guess I might be losing on Will. Optimistic thinking there that I was gaining. We'll stay in it. If I've learned anything from doing iRacing, it's you push the whole time until really you know that there's no possible way to gain more positions. And even then, you might still want to push. Up to 5th gear. The braking marker. Down to 4th, down to 3rd, down to 2nd. tried out first through these corners. John Olson, who I can see up there in 7th, confirmed for me that you definitely don't want to use first in a lot of places, or you definitely have to gear the car differently to do that. Too much wheel spin in first. Got a little lively there in the exit to 4th gear, back down to 2nd. Final corner. So I'm pretty happy with my speed overall compared to where I was, at the beginning of the week, and especially last week. The series was at the Red Bull Ring. I did a couple races, but still was very much adapting back to iRacing in the car. And load's more consistent now, if you'd believe it. Still making some minor errors here and there, missing some apexes. A little late on a shift there. Down to 2nd. But all in all, at least able to keep the car on the track now. Hopefully for the rest of the race, we're about halfway through now. A little less than halfway. But yeah, pace-wise, definitely loads better. These guys are just really good at racing the Lotus 49. So if you're looking for a challenge, this is definitely a good car to race for that. Oh, into revolver there, get really loose. Save it though. Got enough gap behind that it's not a huge issue. Gonna run deep there. There's me locking up the wheel now. Try to just get a late apex. Hard to get on the throttle between the two S's. Coming up on a slower car, I think. On a 2nd gear. What's nice too about this series is they very openly share setups. I'll probably mention in the intro, which I'll actually record after this. But this group has a Discord server, the 49ers that they're called. And on there, the quick guys share setups and advice and everything. So it's not a series you gotta go pay for setups and things, which wasn't a thing back when I did iRacing a lot, but is absolutely a thing now. There's a whole market for setups and tutorials and everything like that. Try to see if I can get around Halen here. Down to 2nd gear, they're gonna take the apex. Ooh, I gotta run a little bit deep. I'm gonna have to follow them through these corners. Nope, they go out wide. Compromise the line on the way in, but it's just where we met. Just keep the car pointed in the right direction. Throttle up. I've lost Will, unfortunately. I was hoping I'd be able to get up there, battle with him. It's just a little bit quicker overall. I'm driving still a little bit under my max level just to make sure I can keep the car on the road. And even with that, I'm still making some errors here and there. So a lot to learn to get more consistent, to get more speed, but down to 2nd. So different than the car I used to drive. Drove it on release and absolutely felt like it was on ice in a weird way. It was so sketchy at high speed. Just danced all over the track, and I tried it a couple times randomly throughout the years, but always seemed very challenging to drive. This car now, obviously pretty challenging to drive. I'm having to almost baby the thing around the track, but at a slower speed, you can definitely control the car. You could back off maybe even a little more than I am and get around the track no problem. So that used to even be hard to do with the old car. To even come close to some of the quick guys was really impossible. But now, I'm still a couple seconds off the really fast guys, maybe even more than that. But I think it's closed up the pack a bit. Makes it not really impossible to be a little faster with the car. and at least keep it on the road for the whole race. All right, come through the kink here. It's actually pretty quick to do it like that. It's just scary, always getting right to the grass. It's not, if you dip a wheel on there, you're gonna probably loop the car around. All right, 10 more laps to go. Do love the dynamic weather system. It's probably old news for folks that play iRacing a lot, but that's newer since I really did a lot of iRacing. Things are going to get kind of interesting here for the last set of laps. Got a whole bunch of slower cars I think I'm going to be catching. For another tear off there. Alright. Onto the hairpin. I'm going to catch Jonathan here at the same spot I caught Halen. Get into first gear there. I was going to run a little bit wide. Can use the torque of the engine to help turn the car. So Jonathan goes to the inside there. It's a little better. Could misinterpret that though. Sometimes it's better for the slower cars to stay on the right line or just the normal line, and you can kind of find your way around them. But that all worked out. That was a good move by him. Come through the S's. Catching one more car here, Rowdy. Down to third gear there. Ooh, some skid marks. Somebody went sideways. So a bit of a slower lap here, but passing some lap traffic. The sun has disappeared. It's very cloudy and almost foggy looking now at Okayama. I like this track a lot. It's kind of a weird one to race this car in, obviously. It's not a classic Grand Prix track, but I actually enjoy that about iRacing a bit, is you might race some cars at tracks that are different. You know, obviously in the historical sims, you're gonna always stick to the classics. And because iRacing doesn't really have any classic tracks, although they do have one, an oval, you kind of pretend, I guess, you're racing modern historic championships and can race on any of the modern circuits you want. iRacing obviously has a great selection of tracks. Got a car up there smoking away. I think it's still Will. Really always pushing into the corners, locking the brakes. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Alright, catching up the back of Rowdy here. Just leaving room to the left. Just saw the chat there. I've got it pretty far up the screen, so it's hard to see. Alright. Nobody now between me and Will, but he's 6 seconds up the road and I just ran deep into the corner. Losing the rear end there. So lap times have fallen off a bit. I'm trying to get by some of the lap traffic, but I'm not sure that's exactly why. We'll see what this lap is, if it is uninterrupted. Right. Up to fourth gear. Sun's back out. We have somebody else leaving. Nice exit there. Still sliding all over the place. The car is very lively. You'd be amazed to watch the onboards of some of the really quick drivers. They're just always correcting, always sliding the car around, but also they know how to, put the car in those situations maybe a bit better. And that's what I've got to learn, is what kind of slides are okay slides versus wrecking slides and things like that. Starting to get there a little bit, but still miles off in the way that would be quick. Also got a little understeery of a setup on, but again, want to survive the race. Can dial some of the understeer out, the differential. Alright, come out of the final corner. So I'll be 6/10 off my optimal, 7/10 off my optimal for the session. 132.1. It's about where I thought I was going to be lapping anyway, so it seems slow because I was quicker early on, but just try to stick at it. Maybe the tires are wearing out. I don't know what the tire wear is like. Obviously wasn't much in real life. Gently back on the throttle there. Oh, purple sector. That's always nice to see. Squeeze that throttle on, leave it in third gear for the straightaway. I have to tell myself to do that. Oh, blow away the lap there. That was a good lap. It was right on my optimal, but we'll stay in it. I'm still only 3/10 off now. Danced the car there. It was a little uncomfortable. Down to second gear. There we go. Fourth gear, come across the line, so a couple tenths better than the last lap. I had it up until the S's that time. Oh, right to the outside of the track. Once again in the green, which is good. Alright, so I pulled out 7 seconds on Dave behind. So just steadily making that gap. Just losing maybe a half second or so to Will every lap. So gotta find that somewhere, but probably not gonna be something to find in the race. Hope for some maliciously hope here for some late race drama. But otherwise, looks like things might be staying this way. Not the most thrilling race I've ever done, but a nice lapping session at Okayama. Run that corner wide again. I gotta figure out what I'm doing there. The front straightaway. 10 seconds back now, so much out of sight. Still see puffs of smoke here and there. Don't know what that is. Fastest lap of the race though, so 19 laps in, turning my fastest lap. Be happy with that. Try to see if I can keep it up. It would be nice to be able to look back to at the race for myself and see what I was doing differently, maybe here later in the race, that was able to give me the times versus where I started. Definitely was nervous off the line, so was just happy to get through the first lap or two without hitting anything or anybody. Get a ton of second gear here. I was trying to brake at a different spot there. I don't know, maybe I actually did it later than usual. If I can just get that one corner right, my laps will actually be really good. Alright. Up to fourth gear. Start lap 20. And no sign yet of the leaders behind, which is always encouraging when you don't get lapped. So I'm not that slow. Finish on the same lap as the leader is always a good thing. car wanted to turn itself in there. That's felt quick, but a little slow on the accelerator up the hill. Making sure the car is planted before I really nail it. Running pretty deep on the brakes there, but able to get it slowed down. All right. Come out of here, get it up to third gear, and then I gotta brake some point that won't blow the corner. Oh my god. It's gonna be so obvious in retro, but I'm overthinking it now is the problem. I don't know if anybody else feels like this when they're racing, but if I can kind of almost forget that I'm racing, I sometimes do better. To an extent, you want to still be concentrated, but you don't want to think about every movement. You want it to be somewhat of a reaction, somewhat of just muscle memory. That'll make you, more consistent, at least for myself, than really thinking, okay, now I brake the car, now I turn in the car, but it's obviously not working for me there. Actually on another slower car, 13 seconds back now on Will, so he's really, with all my mistakes going into the S's. The leader just got the 2 laps to go, so I'm not super far off. There we go. That's probably too early on the braking. It seems to be right about under the bridge that I need to be braking, but it's very, very tight line, fine line between overshooting it. I'm going to understeer there a bit. I do love how much the suspension works on this car as you go through the corners. When you dive into a corner, really sucks down to the ground. High travel on these cars. Racing somewhere like the Nürburgring, you really see it. So we got 2 slower cars in front. Definitely no chance of catching Will on any sort of merit. That left long ago. But we'll stick in it, maybe not push 100%, but 95%. 5 laps of fuel. I might actually have a little too much fuel on the car. We'll check that after the race too. That's not going to make too big a difference right now, though. A lot of folks obsess over fuel numbers. Oh, I'm going to understeer. That just caught me off guard. It's alright, it's not his fault. A lot of folks obsess over fuel numbers, but until you get, in my opinion, until you get really to the limit of pace, it's not going to make a massive difference. You obviously don't want to be way overfilled, and you don't want to be underfilled, but having 2 extra liters of fuel, if you're still making mistakes like I am here and there, it's not really going to be your problem. Alright, come around, get the white flag now, so 1 more lap just to make sure I do this one right. Brake quite early going into turn 1 there. Through the S's up to 5th gear. It's a fun section of the track when you get it right, but so frustrating the first few laps around here. There we go. Up the hill, down the straightaway, about 2/10 off my best time so far. Oh, what happened there? I don't know what, I missed 5th gear. Well, I was thinking maybe this could be actually a good lap at the end, but Not with a misshift like that, and thankfully didn't blow an engine. Have a rev limiter in here. All right, come down the hill. So, not going to be a good lap on the last lap, but finally get the braking at least somewhat right for the S's. A little wide through the second S, get back on the throttle, just a couple more corners now. So, not the most exciting race at Okayama. It'll run wide in the final corner, of course. All right, throttle down. Not the most exciting race at Okayama. A good little battle off the line there. But still got pace to work on, but I'm pretty happy to do the whole race. I don't think I got a single incident point, which is always good. We got a blown engine here from Benjamin, or maybe a smoke show. There we go, third place, Benjamin, on the podium. Celebrate, you deserve it. A lot of work to do in the car, but fun, rewarding car to drive. Really difficult to drive on the limit. And a fun introduction back to iRacing. All right, so I'll throw the results on the screen. It looks like Rob Olajenizak won the race over Bill Tyler and Benjamin J. Zocco. So it looks like Rob only led one lap, so maybe some kind of coming together there. I'll have to take a look at the video and maybe throw up what actually happened. But running down the order from there, in fourth, Tanner McCullough. Fifth, David Gaspers. John Olson finishing in sixth. Uwe Jacobson finishing in seventh. Daniel Sadro finishing in eighth. Will McDonald in ninth. And then myself in 10th position. So not too bad of a result, I would say. One position and an actual pass. I got passed on the start and then passed Dave back shortly after, but that's a real pass. And then I did pass somebody else that had crashed or spun off the track. But I'm satisfied with that. I had 0 incidents for the entire race, which is always good. Means maybe I could have pushed a little harder, but overall I think it was a good learning race, and I'm excited to do more. So the Lotus 49 in iRacing has had a troubled history, but I think the car's in a really good spot now. I highly encourage folks try it out if you like classic racing, if you like iRacing. I wish there was more races for it is maybe my main complaint, but maybe hopefully with this video a few folks will see it and want to try the car out and we can get some general races going. We did have a couple go live during the week with small fields. This Friday race, like I was saying, is a pretty large one for US time, and then the real big race is on Saturdays at 1:30 GMT, like I said, and it's broadcast on GSRC. So if you want to be in a broadcasted race, get good at the Lotus 49 and then qualify for that. I think I still got a little bit of work before I attempt something like that, but it'd be fun to try at some point. So I definitely intend to keep racing the Lotus 49. I think the 79 or the Lotus 79 got a similar update, and that would be fun to try as well. So hope you enjoyed this. Not the most interesting race, but I was hoping to get something out there for the updated Lotus 49, show it off, and everything that's changed about it and how fun it is really right now to race. So thank you for watching. I'll throw a couple cool clips at the end. I'll see you all next time.